Hello, fellow RoboCapitals. Hope you're well. Today, Josh and I are going to go over what I have learned from doing over 3,000 videos on YouTube. That is right, 3,000. That's a lot, Josh. That's a lot, buddy. I think the first thing that I'd like to go over is consistency. So let's go over to the back end analytics. I know everyone likes that. Just the proof's in the pudding, as they say. So let's do a screen share and go over to, now I set up this channel back in 2013, but I didn't start posting videos until July or so, August maybe, of 2019. And I knew going into this, because I did a lot of research, the algorithm really looked for consistency. And a lot of times that was the struggle for beginning YouTubers, especially back then. And I think it'd be the struggle today, is you're just putting all this work into the YouTube channel, into every single video. And your videos are getting like literally 3, 4, at the most, like 20 views. And you're like, what am I doing this for? And it just doesn't get better. But the huge advantage I had back then in doing the research is I realized that's the way the game is played. And you're just not picked up by the algorithm yet. And if you maintain that consistency, and if you produce good content, of course, then at a certain point, the algorithm's going to pick up your channel. It's going to shoot it out to a lot of people. And if you're creating good stuff, then you're going to get subscribers. You're going to get views. But this, a lot of people look at just a viral video that someone just uploaded. And although that does happen, that's not realistic. The way that you do this is by producing great content consistently. That's when the algorithm picks it up. And then it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of when. It's not a matter of if. And I can assure you, there is no component of YouTube that is luck. Zero. It is, sure, there's some shadow bans here and there, and they had some issues with some of the topics during the cerveza sickness, but it's as pure a meritocracy as we've got on social media. So as to illustrate that, let's fast forward, or let's go back to when I started posting videos. And these are the numbers for the entire channel. So this wasn't just one video. These were the daily numbers for the entire channel. You can see August 11, 2019, the channel got 42 views. 42 views. Look at it. August 29th, 2019, the channel got 28 views. And how many videos was I posting? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's just go to another well, this is another view. We're looking at the back end. This is the front end of the channel. So you go to the oldest videos, and by the way, you can see the 8,000. The only reason these videos have more than 10 views is because now that the channel is very popular, people go back and watch how bad I was. and that's what's going on here. But look at how many, shoot, it just says 6 years. That's too bad. Because if you saw the actual date these videos were posted, you could see that I was doing at least a video a day. I remember when I started doing whiteboard videos, which might have been here. That was a vlog, obviously. There you go. That was a whiteboard video. So this is just around the time that I started doing the whiteboard videos. And when I really ramped, or when I decided that that's the direction of the channel, I was doing these 5 days a week. Every single day I would come out with a new whiteboard video. That's now I'm not saying you have to do that to be successful, but this is just an example of if you did want to turbocharge your YouTube growth strategy and you're starting from scratch, if at all possible, you could do a video Monday through Friday, or even 3 Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That would definitely be optimal. So why is that? Well, let's go back to the back end here. The reason it makes a lot of sense is because YouTube, oh, and by the way, that was August 29th. I think it was, Josh. Yeah, 28 views. So then you fast forward to November 16th, and the channel's getting 50,000 views a day. So you go from 28, and then 6 weeks later, it's getting 50,000. So what on earth happened? In fact, that just happened almost overnight. What happened is it got picked up by the algorithm because I was consistently producing great content. So why is that important? Because YouTube is going to look at you just like you would look at a new employee, and that you're hopeful. You think this person has talent and potential. That's why you hired them. But you're not going to give them your biggest account, let's say. You're going to want to train them. You're going to want to see how they do. You're going to want to see if they show up for work on time every day. You're going to want to see if they're a self-starter, if they're ambitious. And you, as a skilled entrepreneur, you get that sixth sense. You can read people. So after the first 3 months or so, you've got a real good idea as to whether or not that person is going to be a keeper, and whether or not that person is likely to be an A player, a B player, or a C player. And if you believe that person's going to be a keeper long term, and if you believe that person's going to be an A player within your industry, then what are you going to do? You're going to give them more responsibility, and you're going to maybe give them bigger accounts, looking at this as a sales position. You're going to continue to put more things on their plate because you've got that confidence in them that you didn't have at the beginning. It's the exact same thing with YouTube. When George Gammon started posting videos, let's just say in July of 2019, the algorithm, YouTube didn't know me from Adam. So I was just a new hire that they didn't know if I was going to work out. They just really didn't have a read. So what I did is I produced all this content consistently, a massive amount of content. So then what they can do with their back end, let's say artificial intelligence, is they can look at the amount of videos and the quality of the videos that I've produced over the first 2 months, and they can get a real good read as to what the probabilities are that I continue to produce content over the next 5 years. In other words, they've got probabilities as to how likely it is that I'm going to be that A player, and how likely it is that I'm going to bring in a lot of revenue for YouTube due to my content over the long term. And so I proved to them that I was someone worth betting on. That's why they just threw it out to the algorithm almost overnight, and the rest is history. So it's consistency. If you can do it, it's creating great content. Now, I guess the next question becomes, what is great content? And so I guess the first thing that I'd learned, just keeping this organized, is how important the consistency is, especially right at the beginning. It was a hypothesis I had at the beginning, and the hypothesis definitely turned out to be true. So I guess the next question, which takes us into the next thing I learned, is how do you create good content? And so I guess we'll start by the thing that I learned here is nothing really matters except for thumbnail, title, hook, retention. And a hook is basically a part of retention. So there's three things that matter. Now, when I first started, let's go over to some of these videos. I thought that like keywords were like really important. And that's what everyone was preaching back then. You got to have keywords. And everyone, all the YouTubers and the guys and gals that taught this stuff, the experts, right? They would always say that you've got to have a 3-second bumper at the beginning for branding. I don't know if you've ever, Josh, you've gotten to the YouTube game.
Everybody has heard that on some channel before when they do this like goofy 5-second to 15-second intro to introduce the channel.
That back in the day when I first started, Josh, that was like a must do. Like that's you had to do that, or else you were just, because the idea there is that you've got to plant these seeds subconsciously in people's mind, and branding, and then asking them to subscribe and asking them to like the channel. These are all little things and tricks that you would have to do to increase the amount of subscribers you were getting. But let's see if I do it right here. You guys don't have to hear the video. And trust me, these videos are so bad, you don't want to hear them. No, I didn't do it there. I remember I did it on a couple videos at the beginning. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go right into the video, and then I'm going to see which one works better. And going right into the video worked better every single time. Another thing that I wanted to look at, I guess I could have done it there, is look at the description of these videos, Josh. You're going to get a kick out of this. Look at this. It would take me like an hour to do the description because I thought this was really important. Because back in the day, the YouTube experts would say that you've got to have your keywords right here in the title, and then you've got to reiterate these keywords that you use throughout the video within the description. And that's how the algorithm is going to, whatever, find your video. Nowadays, you look back and you laugh. It's like, it's ridiculous. But back then, these were like the fundamentals of YouTube. And look, you'd put these hashtags. You see that, Josh? And then I remember you'd put links to other videos. So you would try to get them to, click on that or something. I mean, it was totally absurd. Josh, look at this average percentage viewed, 65.8%.
Holy.
10-minute. Isn't that incredible?
That's one of the best retention charts I've ever seen.
I know. Look at this. It's completely flat. Look at this. At the end of the video, 64% of the people were still watching.
That is amazing. I usually you'll see like 40% of the people drop off in the first 30 seconds of a video, but the entirety
79% of viewers were with me after 30 seconds. And at the end of the video, 64%. That is crazy, crazy. Now, for the viewers, one of the reasons is because it was only a 10-minute video. So now I do like 20 or 25-minute videos, and at the end I'll only have like 40% or something like that. So part of it is I'm doing longer videos, which YouTube likes a little bit better. But another reason was there was just no content like this out there at the time, and now there is. But I guess the punchline here is if you can create content like this, where your retention graph is almost flat, and you have a good thumbnail title, click-through rate, and you produce this type of content consistently, I can promise you will have 100,000 subscribers within the next, what do you think, Josh? The next 6 months?
Probably. It is so rare to see incredible content, but consistency is not the only thing that matters. Let me share my screen for a second, George, and show you a new guy that we're working with that I bet a lot of people have heard of, Tom Wheelwright.
Okay, but before you do, I just want to keep this video organized. So the first thing that I learned was the importance of consistency. And then the second thing was nothing else matters except for those three things. So thumbnail, title, and then retention, which hook is a part of retention. The keywords don't matter. The description doesn't matter. In fact, before we get into that, Josh, just so we can finish this thought, I originally came over here so you could see the, here we go. Josh, you're going to love this. Look at all the keywords.
Oh my God.
In fact, look at this. See that?
Yeah. And there's still people out there probably watching this that are filling out individual keywords for every single video because someone told you that matters. And this is SEO or search engine optimization that's going to help your video get boosted to the top. Like YouTube algorithm doesn't know every single word that's already in your video and who to show it to.
Yeah, and see, this is when you'd try to find these keyword rankings, your overall score. Yeah. So just to give you guys an idea, this video has, I don't know what it has, 10,000 views or something. If you look at one of my more recent videos that has over 100,000 views, none of this. I don't have a description. I don't have keywords. Absolutely.
In fact, that's counterintuitive to sales, which a lot of this channel is about. The more words in the description, the more cluttered it is, the less clear it is for people what they should take action on. And so now you really just have one.
You would do that for the algorithm.
Yeah. And that does not help.
So the algorithm knew what the video was about. And then you would like optimize your keywords. Just total nonsense. So anyway, forget that. Nothing matters except thumbnail, title, and retention. All right.
And let me prove to you that that matters more than consistency itself, because you can have an employee that is super, super consistent, that shows up every single day, but
Yeah.
they still don't drive any ROI to your business. And so here's an example of someone that a lot of you have probably heard of Tom Wheelwright. He's been making 3 videos per week for years and years on end.
So why would people have heard of Tom?
Probably from Rich Dad, because he wrote books with Robert Kiyosaki. He's been on the Rich Dad channel hundreds of times, and so
he's the Rich Dad accounting
yeah
guy, right?
Yeah. And so that's, if you have heard of him, he's the tax guy for the Rich Dad brand. And so he's been hyper consistent, but he never really gained any momentum. He was averaging between 300 and 1,000 views per video, which is still really good. But without changing anything except the hooks, the title, the thumbnail, and a tiny bit of editing improvements, we've gone from averaging a few hundred views per video to quite a few thousand. But let me show you what that looks like on the back end. So he was being hyper consistent, getting a few hundred views per day for years on end. But all that really matters is, does the consistency align with YouTube's incentives? And that's getting someone to click on the video and getting someone to watch the video. So pretty much instantly, we started working with him at the end of May. It's not luck that his channel started to skyrocket after years of being consistent. It's just changing the 3 things that.
But to be clear, years of being consistently shitty.
Yeah, that so consistently
no
shit doesn't help
or anything, but he was consistently bad.
And so all it really takes is improving your strategy a little bit. George's retention was incredible, but you were still continuously trying to think, how can I get people to click the videos? And a lot of that comes down to, what's the idea for the video? If you wanted to make a video and you could have the best title, thumbnail, and the best hook in the entire world, but if you just made it on who won the election, Trump versus Kamala, it doesn't matter, because the timing doesn't work anymore. And so the idea for the video is super important, and then how you structure it to get people engaged.
Right. But I guess the main takeaway here is consistency is important. Absolutely, for sure. But what's even more important is the quality of the content. So the home run is if you can marry the two. That should be what the viewers should aspire to. And why are we even trying to get views at the end of the day? The reason why we're trying to get views is because the more views you get, if you're doing it well, then the more people you're going to get that know you, like you, trust you, the more leads that you're going to get for your business, and it's going to drive the top line, and hopefully it's going to drive the bottom line. At the end of the day, that's all this is. We're not talking about views for a vanity metric. We're talking about views in order to turn them into increased sales. That's really the bottom line.
Yeah, the way that someone like Tom or another client, Ken McElroy, or even you, George, used to get a bunch of leads for your business is you would go to live conferences and you would speak to a stage in front of 500 to 1,000 people, and then convert those people in the live audience into sales for your business, because you're able to speak to quite a few people. But imagine, instead of speaking to 1,000 people, this month Tom has spoke to 200,000 people. How many conferences would it take to speak to 200,000 people, nurturing them and showing them that you have the solution to their problems?
Yeah. And Tom is just talking about accounting, for heaven's sakes. So it's not like he's talking about something exciting.
Yeah.
He's talking about literally the most boring topic on the face of the earth, and he's still able to get, let's just say, 2,000, 250,000 views, which really result in driving that top line, driving that bottom line, and improving his business. Okay, so we've talked about the first thing that I learned. We talked about the second thing that I learned. Now let's talk about the third thing that I learned. And I've never really heard anyone talk about this, and I wouldn't have known it if it wasn't just from personal experience. And
well, you might learn a thing or two from making 3,100 videos in the past few years.
Yeah, you would hope that you would learn a couple things. But it's really how the algorithm works with following the individual as opposed to the channel. So I always thought that what was getting the algorithm equity, if you want to look at it that way, was the actual channel. So the George Gammon channel, or the Rebel Capitalist channel, but it wasn't. it was actually George Gammon. And so what happened is when I started the Rebel Capitalist channel, it grew a lot faster than it otherwise would have, because the algorithm followed George Gammon, because the algorithm knew who George Gammon was, and George Gammon had the algorithm equity. Let's say George Gammon had the brand, so the algorithm could tell that, okay, this is George Gammon over here, but this is also George Gammon over here, so we want to drive views over there because it's still the same employee. It's still the same guy. And if the people love him over here, well, most likely they're going to love him over there. So now let's go to the back-end analytics just quickly for the Rebel Capitalist channel. And you can see a much faster growth rate right off the bat. Let's see, look at the analytics. And we'll do lifetime. So here we start off, but we're getting 11,000 views a day. Like right when I started, just boom, right off the bat. And that grows and grows and grows. And it kind of goes way up here when I was doing a lot of videos. So when we get into here, in fact, more recently, the views per video have gone up. It's just I've done a lot fewer videos just due to my time. Now, let's also compare this to a channel that I started just, 6 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that. And that would be the Rebel Capitalist Interviews channel. So this shows that when I started the Rebel Capitalist channel, I had, let's say, 6 months or 9 months of the algorithm figuring out who I was and building that equity. But now, after I've started all these channels, I've done all these things. You can see I haven't posted a video lately. But let's go to the lifetime of this channel. And I guess I had this channel set up, but I didn't start posting until February 2025. And look at this, right off the bat, 22,000 views. And keep in mind, I'm only posting like, a video per week, like one video per week. And it's getting 22,000 views per day. So why is that? Because it just goes back to what we were saying, is because the algorithm saw, okay, this George Gammon guy, the whiteboard video is good. Let's give him more traffic right off the bat with Rebel Capitalist. But that's after 9 months. Oh my gosh, now this guy has proven himself over 5 years. So whenever he starts a brand new channel now, it instantly has success, as long as it's within a similar topic. Now, this channel might not have that type of success right out of the gate, but that's because we're talking about a completely separate topic. But I can assure you that if we produce good content on this channel, if we do it consistently, that it's only a matter of time before this channel blows up and gets to 10,000, 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah, so I guess the main takeaway is to be consistent, but understand that you need to continuously get better. If you're consistently bad, it doesn't matter how many videos you make. Yeah. And I have proof of that. I have a channel where I've been making 2 videos per day for like 800 days, and I'm under 2,000 subscribers. But the goal is not really to get clients from the channel. I don't do any edits. I don't really do anything for the channel, but that is being consistently bad or being an idiot for a very long period of time. And I would recommend not to waste your time throwing stuff up against the wall that's never going to stick. So the main thing is title, thumbnail, and hook, making sure you're confirming why they click on the video.
There you go. All right, guys, on that bombshell, thank you very much for watching. As always, make sure you're standing for freedom, liberty, free market capitalism. We'll see you in the next video.